I was 13 when I realized my brother wasn't like other people. Not in the way that makes someone special, but in the way that makes people whisper behind your back, in the way that makes teachers nervous and neighbors lock their doors. His name was Eli, and he was 17 when the voices started. At first I thought he was joking. He'd laugh at things no one said, talk to people who weren't there. I'd catch him staring at the wall for hours, whispering to it like it was whispering back. Our mom thought it was stress. She worked 2 jobs and barely had time to breathe, let alone notice Eli unraveling. But I always noticed, Eli was my hero. He taught me how to ride a bike, how to lie to teachers without getting caught, how to sneak snacks into the movies. He was wild and brilliant and fearless. But slowly, the brilliance dimmed. The fear crept in, and the wildness turned into something darker. One night, I woke up to find him standing over me, holding a kitchen knife. His eyes were glassy, distant. He said, "They told me you're not real." I didn't scream. I didn't move. I just whispered, "I am real, Eli. I'm your brother." He blinked, dropped the knife, and cried harder than I'd ever seen anyone cry. We never told Mom. I cleaned up the mess, hid the knife, told her Eli had a stomach bug. She believed me. She always believed me. I became the buffer between Eli and the world. I made excuses for his absences, his outbursts, his silence. I learned how to refill his meds when he forgot. I learned how to calm him down when he saw things that weren't there. I stopped being a kid. I became his keeper. School was a blur. I'd sit in class wondering if Eli was okay, if he'd locked the door, if he'd taken his pills. I stopped hanging out with friends, stopped playing soccer, stopped dreaming. My world shrank to one person, Eli. Sometimes he was lucid. He'd joke around, make pancakes, talk about movies. And then, without warning, he'd disappear into the fog again. He'd scream at shadows, punch walls, cry for hours. I'd hold him, whispering, "You're safe, you're safe, you're safe." But I wasn't safe. I was drowning. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I came home from school and found Eli on the roof. He was barefoot, shaking, staring at the sky. He said, "They told me to jump. They said it's the only way to be free." I climbed up, heart pounding, and sat beside him. I didn't beg. I didn't cry. I just said, "If you jump, I jump too." He looked at me, really looked at me, and then he broke. He collapsed into my arms, sobbing. I pulled him down, both of us trembling. That night, I told Mom everything. She didn't believe me at first. She said I was exaggerating, that Eli was just sensitive. But when she saw the roof, the knife, the drawings on his wall, she broke too. We took him to the hospital. They diagnosed him with schizophrenia, severe, chronic, lifelong. They wanted to institutionalize him. Mom refused. She said, "We're a family. We don't abandon each other." But I knew what that meant. It meant I'd keep being his keeper. Years passed. Eli got worse, then better, then worse again. Meds helped, but not always. Therapy helped, but not enough. I graduated high school with honors barely. Got into college, but I stayed home, commuted, took care of Eli. I watched my friends move out, travel, fall in love. I watched my life shrink to doctor appointments and emergency calls. I loved Eli, but I hated what he'd done to me. And I hated myself for hating him. One night, I snapped. Eli had trashed the living room, screamed at Mom, punched a hole in the wall. I yelled at him, really yelled. Told him he was ruining our lives, that I wished he'd just disappear. He went silent. Walked into his room, locked the door. I stood outside, shaking. Regret flooding me. I knocked, begged, cried, hours passed. No answer. Finally, he opened the door. His eyes were red. He said, "I'm sorry I exist." I broke. I held him. Told him I didn't mean it. That I loved him. That I'd never stop fighting for him. That was the turning point. We started group therapy. Mom joined. Eli started painting again. I applied for a scholarship to study psychology. I wanted to understand him. Help others like him. Help siblings like me. Eli still struggles. Some days are dark. But now, we face them together. I'm still my brother's keeper. But I'm also my own. I've learned to set boundaries, to ask for help, to breathe. And if you're listening to this, if you've ever loved someone who's broken, I want you to know, you're not alone. You're not weak. You're not selfish for wanting space. You're human. Would you sacrifice your life for someone you love? I did. And somehow, I found mine again.